Ryan, can you hear me?
Alfonso, I can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing?
Perfect. I'm doing great, brother. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
Love it, man.
Where are you calling from?
Mexico City.
Is that where you're from? You're Mexican?
Mexican, and I spent some time in Miami, but I'm living here at the moment. How about you? I know you're in Nicaragua right now.
Yeah, exactly. 2 hours away. I'm on a flight.
How has that been?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah?
I mean, obviously, I picked living here, so that says enough. I've traveled around all Mexico, basically. I wouldn't say everywhere, but I think Mexico is beautiful. I just decided Nicaragua, a bit further south, was a bit better.
Why'd you pick Nicaragua?
Again, it's just it's a cheaper or a poor man's version of Costa Rica.
Mm.
The weather's slightly different,
Mm-hmm.
people slightly different. It again, there's less Americans, so
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think for me it's kind of pleasant. And again, it's just a bit off piste essentially because again, people are a bit apprehensive of Nicaragua
Okay.
in terms of its like government or
Mm-hmm.
safety concerns. And again,
You're
me personally, like you're probably more for it in Mexico City than you are anywhere in Nicaragua, basically.
you're enjoying the environment, the people,
Yeah, 100%.
everything's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, my girlfriend's Nicaraguan. My baby's half Nicaraguan, so it's part of my life now, basically.
Beautiful, brother. I love that you're enjoying it. Um, Look, I want to get started.
Cool.
I want to get started with your story, specifically what got you to where you are today.
Well, I mean, it can go many ways. How long or short or to the point you want to go, but essentially, like with many people in this space, I suffered like my own health issues. I lost my vitality as such, the magic, the
Mm-hmm.
essence. And I was looking around looking for answers. And that typically falls in place with food, exercise, dynamic, or approach. And again, going through the weeds of all that, again, I think I just came across the podcast with Dr. Jack Cruz. I think you've interviewed him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was very controversial, of course. And just give me a second.
Of course.
Sorry about that. Usually I use a software called Crisp and it cuts out background noises. And obviously we're using yours. So again, I just told my
No worries,
girlfriend,
brother.
told the child just to be. I mean, you might hear the wind as well if that's
Yeah,
annoying. I can move places.
but that's fine.
Okay, cool. So again, I stumbled across the food scene. I was in there for like another 2 years thinking it's all paleo, it's all bulletproof. That's
Mm-hmm.
the way forward. Issues weren't really going away. And then I think I stumbled across the Dr. Jack Cruz podcast. I think one of the early ones with Ben Greenfield, or maybe even with Dave Asprey. And it
Mm.
was very controversial. And it just stimulated me. I was like, wow, this guy is really like a bit like Marmite. So again, because I'm British, Marmite is like you either love it or you hate it. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the equivalent of that would be in like the States or in Mexico. But again, it was very controversial and it got me stimulated and like thinking about things I never even heard before. And at this time, I was studying to become a nutritional therapist, which obviously now I'm qualified. And it was sharing things that, again, I wasn't really learning as a nutritional therapist. It was going against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just got me down this rabbit hole to study more about the things that Jack was sharing or the books that he was telling people to read or the videos that he just puts out there. And again, it just opened my mind up essentially of how physiology works, life. Uh, and again, it allowed me to be a very different practitioner to my peers, think
Mm-hmm.
differently, help people in a completely different way, opposed to the sort of supplement and test your way out of health issues,
Mm-hmm.
which, yeah, can be helpful, but it can also just be not the truth, essentially. It's not the correct way
Okay.
or a better way. But again, my own issues that came about was, again, there was like some mycotoxins, mold exposure,
Mm-hmm.
some heavy metals. again, my distorted relationship with like life or health and food going prior towards that as well. I think maybe a parasitical infection as well in the mix. But again, those were what I was obsessed about when I was getting into this health. What's wrong with me? What's going, like, these are the issues. When in fact, when you're in my position right now, you can see, well, that was just purely poor health. It was a low redox. That
Okay.
was why I was subjected to those issues. Now, sure, is eating bluefin tuna in excessive amounts a wise move? Like, no. But again, it's just like if my body was healthier, I could likely deal with the consequences better, or I might have made better decisions about consuming a high protein or high tuna fish diet, essentially. So again, it's a really like interesting. And again, I don't really talk about much about my history. I find it kind of boring.
Okay.
Because again, it's not like I'm insulted by it, but again, it brings me back. And again, that's not where I am and where I'm going. And again, I can
Mm.
understand how it can inspire some people.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it, it, it's always laced in people's problems, and I find in this space, people always stuck there. So
Mm-hmm.
again, you'll hear people that, oh, this changed my life, but really they're just full of shit. They're still stuck in their own ways, and they haven't come out of this box to really understand how physiology fundamentally works, basically. So
Okay.
again, it's like you're a butterfly, your wings, and again, you're not. Why am I going to be dribbling about my past experiences and just say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was I fixed it because it was like the mold. I detoxified mold from my body. I took some binders, I sweated it out, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there is some context with that. But again, that's not why my health is amazing right now and how I can help many people out there in dealing with mycotoxins. But again, fundamentally understanding how redox biology and mitochondrial health fundamentally work.
Beautiful. So let's talk about you now. I want to talk about your coaching specifically. I had a podcast with Ryan Mitchell Brown, and he talked to me that your coaching really woke him up to the world we live in right now, and for him to change his life, change his health, change his environment, and start to coach himself. Uh, why does your coaching exist in the first place? What's the mission?
So the mission is to help others, to again give them the capacity and or the capability of living their life on the best terms possible, whatever
Hmm.
decisions that they want. So
Okay.
again, that's whether it's a performance athlete or someone who wants to talk about longevity, or again, someone like, say, for example, with Ryan, with a few health issues to resolve them basically, but
Hmm.
do so with them becoming the CEO, them becoming their own doctor inside their heads,
Hmm.
them being empowered, so then they don't have to be subscribe to supplements, subscribe to using my coaching for life. Basically, it's a poor template. So again, that's what my coaching is about. It's about decentralized health optimization medicine as
Hmm.
such.
Hmm.
And again, I'm not replacing medicine. I'm not replacing conventional medicine by any means. But again, I'm basically allowing you to not need it, to be in a position where you don't have to use it. Only basically seeing an emergency doctor if needed.
Hmm.
So that's the whole point of like my coaching and practice. And again, that could be from anyone with any issues or any goals. And again, that's the kind of unique thing about my approach is that I'm not like a specialist in gut health or a
Hmm.
specialist in hormone balance or again pro metabolism, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's understanding all these systems and how they interconnect and integrate basically, and understanding your weakest link in that chain. And
Okay.
again, for some people, again, using Ryan as an example because you probably know him pretty well,
Hmm.
again, it could just be something like a mental emotional block. Because again, when he came to me, he was very fixated in this functional medicine framework about heavy metals, or again, it might be high vitamin B6 in his blood, or is it this? And again, it's a lot of questions. And again, that's baggage. That's actually blocking how his body's flowing and coherent.
Hmm.
Because now you're always thinking there's something wrong, or I've got to be doing this, or I need to be taking this for that. And again, that's not the essence of how our physiology works. Again, no animal out there actually's got like PubMed at their fingertips. No animal's got like a counting calorie app to track its energy intake or expenditure. It doesn't know the difference between this or that. Again, it's just thriving because again, it's truly decentralized and connected to its environment and itself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that is the principles of how I work. And again, if you want to, again, do that and optimize that for performance, which again can go against some optimal health tenants per se,
Mm-hmm.
then that's fine. As long as you're aware of that, or again, we can put some processes in place to mitigate the effects. Or again, whether it's to get lean or to be a bodybuilder as such, that if that's your goal and desire, if that's how you want to live your life, that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. I'm not judging that. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it's just you just need to be connected with what you really want to achieve, and I would be able to facilitate that progress and journey together, basically. Not that there's a right or wrong way, but just give you the best way forward to achieve that, essentially.
I love it. And I was curious, what's behind the name Live? I don't want to kill this. Live Vitae, Vitae,
Live vitae. So that means
Vitae.
live life.
Ah,
I believe it's Latin. Live
beautiful.
life. Because
Why?
again, like your life is yours to live.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you've got the keys for your life. Again, it's not based on how I want to live my life. It's about you.
Beautiful.
Okay. So again, that's where dogma come and again people, okay, this is what fixed my health issues. And again, you're basically using their story and their experience in in you, and that's so faulty and so
Mm-hmm.
backwards because again you are so unique.
Mm-hmm.
You got your way, your experience, your perception of reality, basically.
I love that. I think something huge that you share is this reconnection to nature. And it makes sense because in the environment we live nowadays, everything is just so foreign for the body and for the being. And I think this question is a little bit broad, but for folks starting this journey of becoming health conscious and really wanting to make a change on their life, why do you think? I mean, of course, this is obvious for you, but why is it important to learn and follow nature and not the supplement shelf at Whole Foods?
So again, nature's got loads of truths and uncomfortable lessons to be learned,
Mm,
experiences where you make mistakes. Our modern life is not allowing you to make those mistakes as such. They're blunting it. Or again, they're removing your self-responsibility. Where again, you can live an unhealthy lifestyle in the UK and the NHS, the National Health System, would look after you. They'll give you the insulin medication for your
yeah.
indoor life
Okay.
and your junk food diet.
Hmm.
So again, that's the big problem because again, you're not now decentralized. You're not free with your health. You're at the mercy of living that lifestyle connected to the medical system,
Hmm.
needing their medications and not knowing any better. And unfortunately, the way we're educated about health, that we have this self responsibility at, it is completely backwards where how I've been brought up. Again, unless your parents are a bit on the alternative side or maybe a bit of a hippie, you don't
Hmm.
get taught about things like sunlight, about grounding, about how you're breathing, how to actually deal with emotions and communicate things and be in touch with yourself and others. Again, we're not taught like that in the UK. So again, this allows you to be stuck in this system where again you are capped basically. And again, this approach to health is again there's no ceiling. Again, it's living your life. Again, whatever that is, you can live your life on your terms and be free doing so. And again, that's what it's about. Again, it's the nature aspect is the more closely connected you are with nature, the easier it is to be healthy. Again, the more connected you are to the grid as such, or living in an inner populated city, again, the harder it is, the harder you need to be maybe tracking things like potentially calories, as an
Hmm.
example. Although there's a lot of bogus there.
Hmm.
But again, it is because your environment is actually altering how your cells, mitochondria, your biology is working basically. It's being manipulated. And then you would need to put things in place. Okay. But again,
Hmm.
the irony is that is not the correct answer. Again, the correct answer is to break free out of that ideally. But again, doing it in a modern city with jobs, or maybe you got a house, you got a mortgage,
Mhm.
again, there's other commitments at play. It does become difficult. Um, and again, I can see how some people, okay, oh, it's easy for you, you live in Nicaragua, blah blah blah, you've never had to struggle. Again, I can see that, but again, that's just not completely true. Again, I've like grafted my way to be in this position, and
Mm.
unfortunately, yeah, I haven't had a kid at a young age. I haven't had a girlfriend or a partner or have marriage or things like that. Again, I worked very hard when I was young, um, to be able to be in this position, basically. And again, I think it's such an easy pass out just to say, oh, again, I can't do anything. I'm stuck in a city, blah, blah, blah. Again, I do think you can make up for it or have things in place where instead of buying that Mercedes car, again, maybe you go camping on a weekend
Mhm.
somewhere in a rural countryside environment. And again, just switching and changing things like that. But again, a lot of people don't really want to change. A lot of
Mhm.
people are happy having that Mercedes, having the, I don't know, the crazy trainers and the
Yeah.
perfumes and the first class flights to go here and there. And again, that's okay. But again, you can't really change these type of people. But again,
Mhm.
those who are a bit on the edge, again, I hope to inspire them and say, look, getting connected with nature gives you this bit of a ticket. It bridges the gap in terms of how your biology works. And you don't need to listen to functional medicine. You don't need to listen to conventional medicine.
Mhm.
You can use this thing inside of your brain and your heart
Mhm.
to sort of optimize your health.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's more of maybe they don't understand why going camping for a week is better or more worth it than the new Mercedes. I think, I mean, that's huge. It's this um, trying to see how I can spell it out. Like
I
this.
mean, like, so again, you've got like there's dopamine connections there. You've got this sort of conditioning where that's associated with
Mm,
success in our
yeah.
culture, basically.
Okay.
So you're
Mm-hmm.
conditioned to believe that is okay. I'm doing things right. That's what healthy, happy people portray as doing good in life.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that is that centralized culture of that's what you should be doing. That's what success is. And again, for me, success or luxury is be able to have time on my hands, be able to do anything that I want, to be able to actually literally after this conversation go to the beach all day and be in the sea. Or
Mm-hmm.
again, read a book or be able to see the stars at nighttime. Or whether it's basically to be downloading skin in a game with no clothes on because I've got the capacity to have privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And for someone who has had their health scares, they're done with this centralized system, and they really want to break free. Uh, they are a little bit down bad. They're depressed. Um, they're really unhealthy. How do you think someone could get started to take their life back?
Yeah, I believe it's accumulation of small wins basically. So again,
Okay.
understanding first principles. And again, we know that life on this earth started with like light cycles,
Mm-hmm.
light and dark cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Getting that in place is like the first thing to be doing. And again, then it would be basically depending on where you are around the world, of mitigating that and encouraging that basically. So again, that might be like more sun exposure, or again,
Mm-hmm.
that could be more cold therapy depending on certain circumstances. And then it would be putting that light and dark cycle in context with your diet and nutritional choices basically. And again, it's not about ketosis or glucose chasing or anything like that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
basically seasonal food choices
Mm-hmm.
to basically encourage how your biology works based on light signals. Okay, because again, your body should determine if you're going to be using glucose or fats basically to a certain degree based on your light signals inside and outside of your body. Okay, and again, on top of that, small wins. Maybe that's just moving your body. It really does depend where does depend where you're at. But also like, what do you like? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Because again, if someone doesn't really enjoy physical activity, why would you want to put them? under sort of like health conditions of doing like interval training or doing some, I don't know, some cardio or maybe lifting some weights.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it's about for them, basically. So again, finding out these details again, and then putting a plan in place, understanding why are they going to be doing cardio, or understanding why they're going to be reverting to a seasonal template, not just chase low carb all year
Mm-hmm.
round, because again, that can be backwards. That can actually be a bad thing, no matter what, like this keto doctor says on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I want to change a little bit the topic. On, I know you just had a newborn. Congratulations. Um, and I've been becoming a little bit aware of this world because my older brother just had a newborn as well. And there is a really traditional approach to, uh, I think you could say, helping your newborn grow. Um, is there anything that you can share that you're approaching your baby's health to other new parents that are a little bit skeptical of the traditional approach? If that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, so again, I remember when my baby was born, and the pediatrician basically said, make sure you don't put her in sunlight, or
Mm.
the sun's very dangerous. And again, like there is some truth in that. No,
Mhm.
no doubt. Again, especially where I live in Nicaragua on 11th latitude. So again, it, it's about having a bit of an open mind. And again, it doesn't mean the extreme alternative
Mhm.
end of a scale. But again, it's also not just being gullible to what the doctors say or pediatricians say, because that's the norm, essentially. But again, I do think that you should be looking around like 1 year out before thinking about having a baby
Of
and
course.
thinking about optimizing your health to a certain degree. And again, maybe that does involve looking at some testing to see a snapshot of what's really going on with your biology, if there's anything wrong there, as an example. But again, it would be about replenishing vital nutrients in your body,
Mhm.
guiding in your circadian rhythm, of course, looking at like your vitamin D levels, vitamin A intake, melatonin activity, all these kind of things. And again, it's also dad's role as well to be healthy too.
Mhm.
That has a big shout in the baby's health.
Of
And
course.
again, even depending on where you are geographically, that might actually influence when you wanna actually give birth as well. So again, on a seasonal premise, people in like the northern hemisphere, if you look at other animals, again, they typically give birth again with the in springtime essentially. So they would actually procreate in the mid or late summer. The mum would actually be carrying that in the winter time and somewhat be ketogenic at that time. And then she basically give birth in spring. And again, why? Is because again the light period is stronger there. There's going to be more photosynthesis activity. There's going to be more plants, potentially more animals to consume as a result of
Mhm.
the plant growth. So again, there's like some unique things, and again, studies to show that babies born around that time, they have slightly higher IQs.
Mm.
And again, it would be like the fear around consuming fish or seafood in pregnancy. Again, sure, there is concerns with some seafood with heavy metals and microplastics. But again, every single food that you are going to be consuming in this world is going to have some trace amount of some issues there. So again, it's just winding like weighing up like risks benefits. Again,
Mhm.
you should be able to eat seafood without any problem or concern about any heavy metals such as mercury, because again, selenium is abundant in seafood. And again, if your glutathione status is on point, you're going to have no problem with that at all. But again, if you got intestinal permeability, if you got
Mhm.
a poor functioning liver, then again, you're going to feel the effects of this. Um, Again, other things like I would say as a parent is like nappies is a big one.
Mhm.
Breastfeeding, formula, the conundrum with that. Again,
Yeah.
breast milk is absolutely beautiful with how it's created and then given to babies. Again, there's a reason why the breasts are there, and again, the baby likes being by the breasts. It's because it's close to your heart. and the heart is this electromagnetic center of the human body
Mm-hmm.
that has obviously this field around, this biofield around, and the baby obviously is very aware of mum's heartbeat as well, being in her womb. So again, there's a really unique experience with this, and obviously when you're formula fed, again the macronutrients are a bit altered. It's not the correct sort of fats coming through. Potentially, there's a lack of vitamin A. There's no circadian biology with the breast
Mm-hmm.
milk. Again, this actually setting the baby up not to be like fail or no, setting the baby up to have problems. But again, it's the opportunities of good health. They become harder essentially,
Okay.
and this
Yeah.
period in the baby's life is very key. Again, these subtle differences really do matter. Again, a baby's and a young child is a very plastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's very, very important that the baby is healthy. So they don't have to have antibiotics as such. Because when you have
Mm-hmm.
antibiotics as a child, you're going to feel the effects of it much more because again your microbiome is developing at this age. When you become maybe your age or my age, taking antibiotics is not a big deal as such because your base phyla, your keystone species are there. So you're basically just knocking out the topsoil as such when you take an antibiotic. Um, Again, like nappies, again, that has a key role on our biology as well. Again,
Mm-hmm.
like the way polyester is because it's synthetic, it doesn't essentially, or it alters how light signals work on our surface.
Mm-hmm.
Because cotton's natural, again, it absorbs, it emits light signals. When you're wearing polyester, again, it doesn't have the effects. And of course, there's obviously like maybe heavy metals, there's contaminants in the material as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's most parents are very aware of like nappy rash. Again, you don't have that issues when you're using like reusable diapers, which our inners are made from cotton, and then yeah, sure, there's an outside of it that's made from polyester to keep it obviously somewhat waterproof. So it's obviously not piss going everywhere. But again, this is a really big deal. Think about how much time a baby has a nappy on. But again, it's
Mm-hmm.
also about the baby to have be naked as well. Let the
Mm-hmm.
air touch it, the light touch it. That's very important too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, although the baby's circadian biology is not really firmed or set, again, it's still important to control the light environment around the baby. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I see various mums, like again, using technology so close to the baby, which
Mm-hmm.
again, for me, is a big red flag. A baby is much more sensitive to these environmental issues. An
Yeah.
old person is not going to have the same effect of electromagnetic radiation as such that a newborn is. Again, that's
Yeah.
also with things such as taking scans for mum when she is pregnant. Again, you don't really want to be doing many scans checking
Mm.
in. That's also another concern that,
Mm-hmm.
again, most people don't discuss. And
Yeah.
again, I won't really talk about like the vaccines because, again, that's also a very, again, even in here in Nicaragua, it's very different to what happens in the US or in the UK. But again, I think with the things with the vaccines to note is, again, at such a young age, you get a big hit of your immune system, and it also comes with other ingredients like
Mm-hmm.
heavy metals coming in, and that's also influencing how your biology, the biophotons released from your metabolism as such. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
again, that has also other effects. But again, ideally, you have a personal choice. Again, depending on some hospitals, you might not be able to get pregnant or go into labor without agreeing to that practice as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
again,
I
there's something
understand.
like vitamin K shots as an example. And again, it doesn't make sense. Why would you need a vitamin K shot? Well, again, yeah, of course, a baby's going to be deficient in vitamin K. But again, the vitamin K comes through mum's breast milk, basically.
Yeah. Huge. You mentioned light environment and circadian rhythm with your baby. How are you approaching that? And how is her? It's at her.
It's a her, yeah.
How is her current circadian rhythm affecting you guys?
Yeah, well, again, this is dependent on mum. So mum's
Mm.
health is at the mercy of what happens with her. So again, the
Mhm.
baby is so dependent on mum because again, it can't walk, it can't clean up its shit, it can't eat for itself.
And it doesn't
It's basically
understand that yet as well.
yeah, yeah. So again, it's so independent on mum to
Mhm.
be dialed in and understanding this. So again, she's not
Mhm.
scrolling Facebook or Snapchat. And again, we're a pack. She's following again, not following my like we're following each other's lead. Basically, we're going to bed around like 9 o'clock,
Mhm.
as an example, because again, it
Okay.
gets dark here in Nicaragua at 6:30, and then it rises. The light rises around 5 o'clock in the morning. So again, we'd have like red lights at nighttime, and again, there'd just be standard red LED bulbs. There might be like some orange lights about.
Mhm.
There'll be motion red lights. So again, if we wake up or she needs like we need to change the nappy as an example at nighttime, or she needs a feeding, again she can see what she's doing. She's not going to step on a scorpion as an example,
Mhm.
or a tarantula that we have out here.
Mhm.
Again, when she does wake up, again ideally she's being fed outside with mum. Maybe she's
Mhm.
not in direct sun, but again she's outside, maybe in shade, but again, you're still getting the sunlight hitting your skin in an indirect way. Or again, it might be like this morning at 6 o'clock. She was in my arms, wrapped up because it's fairly windy here.
Mhm.
And I walked up a mountain with her, and again, she's getting light on her face. I opened up her top, so she's getting it on her gut as well. And again,
Mhm.
this is like 6 o'clock, so it's not that strong.
Mhm.
But again, it is probably a moderate dose for her because she is so sensitive to it, because she is not melanated yet. Okay,
Okay.
she's still kind of white as
Mhm.
such.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that specifically because this is something I'm starting to learn myself. Is the reason I know I'm pretty sure they cannot melanate as well at that age. Is that because of they're mostly water, or
Well,
how does that work?
well, again, it's just that. So again, if you think about how a baby comes out a mum,
Mhm.
they're very small for that reason. Their brain can't grow. So if their brain was melanated prior to giving birth, it wouldn't fit out the birth canal. So again, other animals, they can fit out the birth canal, but their brain capacity is not like a human. That's
Okay.
why humans very unique in how our brain develops outside mum's womb. Although it develops inside, it's not fully maximized. And a
Mhm.
great book about this is called Survival of the Fattest by Michael Crawford.
Okay.
And again, it's all about understanding the essential fatty acids, DHA, but also the micronutrients such as like iodine, iron, B12, selenium, zinc, and copper, and how this basically influences thyroid physiology at the same time. He doesn't touch upon myelination, but again, there's a B12 component there with how you myelinate. But again, it's typically UVA light that's going to be like influencing nitric oxide alongside B12 to help with the myelination. But again, myelination is different to being like melanated. Melanated is going to be coming out when she's
Ah.
getting that sunlight
Mhm.
exposure on herself, basically. Now, again, naturally, because she's half Nicaraguan, she's going to have some of mum's
Mhm.
melanin. So
Mhm.
again, my girlfriend is again on um, again like a typical like Mayan looking person essentially, and but again, she's obviously got half my color, which again I'm European. But
Mhm.
again, it would take time for her to get that myelination built in. Sorry, for her to be melanated as such,
Mhm.
for the copper, for the tyrosine, the amino acids. And again, it would be likely working from the inside out, where we as adults would likely be on the outside in, where we think of, oh, I got melanated, I got a tan. She's likely tanning her insides first,
Okay.
then her outsides would follow. That's what I would believe is or hypothesize is happening first. Because
Mhm.
again, she wouldn't really have a baseline melanin tan at the start, essentially.
Love it, and thank you for sharing that. You mentioned mitochondria at the start, which is something huge, and it's something that uh, I wouldn't say that it's overlooked, but it's just not talked about at all, right? It's the start of disease and the start of the health, with what I've seen. Why do you think? Yeah, why do you think mitochondrial health is so overlooked? and how do we start to take care of our mitochondria and to give vitality?
Yeah, I think it's overlooked because it's complicated as
Mm,
such.
okay.
Again, it's you're talking about the origins of life. Again, understanding symbiotic, sort of like how a bacteria was engulfed,
Mm-hmm.
the utilization of oxygen. Again, you're talking about like how science is funded. Obviously, genetics, which has nothing to do with mitochondria as such.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's likely why it's overlooked. And then on the functional medicine scale, it's like, okay, cool, you have mitochondrial dysfunction, and they talk about it like it's an organ. But again,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an organ. It's like a key importance. And again, it's only an organelle inside our cell, and there's other
Mm-hmm.
organelles that are important too. But again, it's very complicated. It's basically the start of health and of the end of disease, basically. And again, Doug Wallace would probably be one of the best experts. And again, he's got videos on YouTube, which again makes really good learning material to truly understand. But again, the mitochondria would be like the powerhouse of a cell. But again, what it's been found out is also creates signaling. So it's
Mm-hmm.
communicating. Again, it's basically communicating with the environment on the outside and dictating what's happening with the nucleus of what's turning on or turning off. It's
Okay.
influencing protein. It's
Mm-hmm.
influencing how we make water inside the cell, CO2. It's reversing photosynthesis. Okay. Again, it's creating basically like thunderbolts inside our cells, essentially. Again, it's got a magnetic essence to it as
Mm-hmm.
well, because anything that creates energy has a magnetic field too. And again, this is also maybe one of the reasons why a baby's not melanated yet, because again, you got me thinking, is because again, your melanosome and your mitochondria are very close together. Again, a
Okay.
baby doesn't have a lot of cells or mitochondria at the start. They're
Mm.
developing. And
Okay.
again, when they're dividing, daughter cells, more mitochondria biogenesis as such. So again, her melanin is naturally going to be increasing when her
Mm-hmm.
mitochondria biogenesis is increasing at the same time. Okay, so again, it's all hand in hand of how a human body develops, basically how we become melanated. And again, that's obviously going to max out when you become like 20, 22 years old as such, when your brain's fully myelinated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But again, the functional medicine viewpoint would be okay, take carnitine, take CoQ10, take some magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
What else do they throw at it? Maybe some niacin. Again, that's just like, okay, you've got mitochondrial problems. That's what CoQ10. That's all that you need, basically,
Mm-hmm.
without diving into really understanding the essence of it, how oxygen's really being used. How, again, understanding the cytochromes there, how they work, understanding how iron and sulfur fits into this, because they're the proteins, understanding size and shape of the actual mitochondria electron transport chain. Again, it gets very complicated. Um, but again, it also, where we can't think about it as an organ, we got to think about it on, like, again, your mitochondria are different in different cells, in different tissues, in
Okay.
different organs, in different systems
Mm-hmm.
as such. So again, your mitochondria in your heart are going to be very different to your mitochondria in your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they actually have a different ratio or flux of substrates, where the heart would like to have more ketones, as an example, or fatty acids.
Okay.
And again, or again, the muscles, again, they can do very good in both, but again, they're going to likely do better using glucose as a fuel source. But again, we obviously know
Mm-hmm.
long term using glucose, it does become a problem as such. It's not very good thermodynamically to use a lot of glucose, because again, there's only a max amount that you can use, as an
Mm-hmm.
example, compared to fat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, because they're so crucial with producing water, ATP, light release, and the signaling, they dictate basically what happens. And they are basically sensing the environment. And because they're bacterial in origin, they're inflicted with like the EMF as well. Again, they're inflicted with
Mm-hmm.
antibiotics that we consume because they're bacteria in origin. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so again, they're very delicate, and again, they work as a team as well. We don't just have like one mitochondria floating around in a cell. There
We
could
have.
be tens, there could be hundreds, there could be thousands. And again, as they work as a team, again, maybe that might mean in your lung tissue, your lung cells, maybe you've only got 60% of your team working correctly. Now that's going to lead to that energy drop, and that's going to be causing diseases. Okay. And again, that's defined as like the heteroplasmy rate, essentially. And again, it would be a bit like the equivalence of like you playing soccer or football, and like five of your football players on the team, they went out drinking the night before the game. And again, are they really going to show up and perform for the team? No. Again, and you're likely to lose the match. That's basically how our health functions as well.
You mentioned non-native EMFs. This is also, I'm gonna still use this word, overlooked, because if I take a phone call with my phone over here, I don't feel nothing at the moment, so I'm taking it for granted. Uh, so you tell people to stop wearing their phones in their pockets, and they just look at you like crazy. It makes no sense in the outside.
Well, again, this is the irony because humans can't see this type of electromagnetic
Mm-hmm.
radiation. And again, we can't see UV light as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this changes like perception of how we respond to things. Now,
Mm-hmm.
again, if you show someone with a trifield, like an EMF reader, what the hell's coming out their AirPods or their phone, they'll be like, holy shit, because now they've actually got a physical representation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, wow, I didn't know that. And again, maybe there's a sound connected to it as well. So again, that's going to sort of change the response in someone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they just don't know any better. And again, because technology is so addictive, and
Mm-hmm.
again, our culture norms that, yeah, I can call someone anytime I want from my pocket. Again, it's a luxury. And again, it's very hard to break and be like, okay, you need to maybe police it. You
Mm-hmm.
need to have things in place because again, what you're doing is you're changing the fidelity of your biology. Basically, you're changing how the spectrum of life, which is in the electromagnetic field, is working with your cells. And again, everyone knows that UV light can cause DNA damage.
Mm-hmm.
Again, isolated UV light in a research lab.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they just don't know that the same thing evolves with radio frequency as well. Yeah, it doesn't cause ionizing effects, but it actually changes how your biology function based on whether it's water or whether it's ions or whether it's like calcium. Again, it or even like how the mitochondria are functioning, or like even like disturbing the light release and the light system there. Again, people don't again know any better, and because the sort of research has been sort of, I would say, like butchered in this way, where
Mm-hmm.
again it's not conclusive, people are just like, okay, cool, I'm going to go with it. Or again, they're not actually going to read the warnings on the phones that say, don't keep it by your side of your head longer than like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it says. Again, people don't read that. But again, there's a warning in these manuals typically. And again, these studies that show that it's not harmful, again, they're not considering the fact that, yeah, the studies that they use are actually bogus. It's like a fake human brain. But
Okay.
also, again, are not contending that, yeah, you could be in Mexico City like you are, and are not actually contending with like 20 Wi-Fi's, or
Mm-hmm.
again, another 20 Bluetooth devices, or again, maybe some radio waves in the background as well. And again, maybe you got a military base by you and two airports. Again, how does that change the study? That's surely going to be changing what's going on there. And again, the EMF studies, again, it's going to be very personal to you. Again, you're young. You
Mm-hmm.
likely got more water in your biology than someone who's older, who's not going to feel the effects of it as
Mm-hmm.
such. So again, people can be very sensitive to EMF.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there could be other people who are not so. But again, that's going to be so individualized, and there's never going to be a overall like there's never going to be like an overall statement about the health and safety of EMF. And again, it's best just to apply best practices to mitigate the effects. And again, it's not to say to avoid Wi-Fi all the time. I mean, we're using internet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just about doing things in appropriate manner without abusing it.
Having distance and control over these devices, I think, is what's most huge.
Yeah, but again, it's also changing again your connection with other people. So
Mm-hmm.
again, if you're going to have to use social media less, how are you going to connect with other people more? Are you actually going to join a social club? Are you going to actually start talking to people in real life? Again, because again, that's where people typically go towards social media. They just want a tribe to follow.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel connected. They want sort of like an elder or I don't know, a guru basically. So again,
Mm-hmm.
if you cut that away from someone, what have they got? They likely got no one because again, they're literally probably in like mum's basement, and again, they're just spending their day on their phone and on internet forums, and again, that's their friends. So again, you can't just like cut plug with that because again,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big emphasis on like Maslow's laws of human needs and requirements.
In this same theme, traveling on an airplane is also a huge stressor for our biology, and it's something that you've shared. I think a guide on how to protect your health while traveling. Why is this something huge? Why should we care about protecting our health in a plane?
Did you read it?
Uh, I think yes, I did
Okay,
in a
cool.
history.
Yeah, cool. So again, there's an actual article on my website that goes into a bit more detail. Again, it's a just basically straight up an inflammatory environment. Again, to think about human being on a metal tube, 30,000 feet up in the air, and then basically because of this metal tube, be basically in like a microwave with the Wi-Fi and the
Mm-hmm.
Bluetooth, and maybe like 300 other people in there. And again, then you've added on like the actual gases in the like in the environment as well, the pollutants, the toxicants, and then you throw in the food, and then again you throw the biggest issues is like most people have poor health. So
Mm-hmm.
again, the redox charge is so dropped that they feel essentially terrible after flying. And again, it's not to say like don't fly. Again, it's just to, like when you fly, fly appropriately. If you're gonna fly, fly, or not, just take a train or drive somewhere basically. But again, also that could just be hazardous as well. But it's likely you're not leaving Earth as such. But again, the biggest issue would be again the cumulative effect of all those things basically.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you can mitigate certain things, but you're going to get hit with something basically. So again, it just requires you to make sure that you're going into the flight very well. You're not sleep deprived when you get to your destination. You're not just going to go out drinking and do reckless behavior. Or again, you're not going to blame it on the sun from why you're sunburned because you flew down from say London to I don't know the
Nicaragua.
Caribbean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Nicaragua, the Caribbean, basically. And again, you hit the buffet meal, you're drinking the alcohol, and then you basically just wind up on the beach like a washed up whale. You
Mm-hmm.
apply the sun cream. But again, you're just basically flown 8 hours, your circadian rhythm disrupted, and then your skin's not ready for it, and then you're going to blame the sun. And again, that's
Mm-hmm.
not how it works. It's your ignorance, they're not understanding that, or again, not your ignorance, you just didn't know any better, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how do we fly appropriately?
Well, again, there's each plane is going to be different in terms of like where you're going to sit, as an example. So again, from my sort of experiments that I've done in several planes, it's best to sit in the middle and not
Okay.
near the window, unfortunately. Now, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the views. For example, say if you go to the toilet, or again, if you want to stretch your legs, sure, look out the window. That's not a problem. Again, your seat, ideally, you find a seat without the TV on the back of your headrest, basically.
Okay.
Again, you're getting the electrical fields from that as well. Again, things like taking methylene blue. Methylene blue would be a very good strategy to use there because of the air quality there and the way that your metabolism is altered in a pseudo-hypoxic environment. again, grounding before, sunlight, red light blockers, or blue light blockers. That would be ideal to use as soon as you basically walk through the airport, through security, to just whack them on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what you're doing is you're increasing the amount of melatonin in your body, and again, melatonin is going to protect your mitochondria from the apoptosis and autophagy side of the equation.
Okay.
Again, I would personally fast. I wouldn't even worrying about bringing on like some grass-fed beef burgers or coconuts to drink coconut water or some fruit.
Yeah.
I just think the idea of that is just like disordered.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe you find some decent food beforehand. Maybe there's like an oyster bar. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
go for it. But again, you don't. You should be able to fast a few hours on a flight,
Of
10
course.
hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that would be a strategy. Again, it would be potentially like drinking some mineral water. Again, if you want to add some electrolytes to that, that
Mm-hmm.
can help to a certain degree. Um, what else did I say on there? Again, there's things like clothing, but again, that's more of an expense to sort of worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, another good thing afterwards is actually like taking a massage or going in
Okay.
the sea or a float tank,
Mm-hmm.
or even like I would actually even say like some physical exercise afterwards to a certain degree, as long as it's obviously protecting your light environment, would be a good thing to be doing afterwards as well.
How come?
But again, you're just stimulating your connective tissue. So again, you're making it more like the water and the connective
Okay.
tissue to work better to absorb more light.
Okay. Perfect. Changing the theme just a little bit. Why, in your opinion, for what you've seen, do you think there is so much um yeah, corruption and wanting to control population through the topics of health and medicine?
In terms of control, in terms of like the numbers, or do you mean just control
People.
people?
Yes,
Okay.
people.
Well, again, it's just like it's just easy money basically.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just if you got a sick society that needs more medication and more injections of things, who can't think for themselves. Again, it's just like it's easy, and again, you control the system of the food, you control the light that they interact with, whether that's indoors, whether that's technology, or again, you tell them to avoid the sun. Again, people can't think for themselves, and again, it just makes them. I think the word would be obedient, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, it'd be a bit like zoo animals. You take them out their environment, and again, they're not the same species that you'd find them in the wild, and then they
Absolutely.
basically be like monged out,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And again, they have no vitality as such, and that's when they actually get diseases and they have health problems. Again, this is exactly what's happening with humans, basically. But again, we don't really see that because again, it's sort of like manipulated via the media,
Mm-hmm.
and again, there'll just be science to protect these sort of beliefs that these people are, or governments. I wouldn't say governments, but like what's actually being shared
Groups.
out there,
Mm-hmm.
groups, or what's being shared out there, basically.
Well, Ryan, for my last question, uh, what brings you most joy in life?
The my time,
Your time.
owning
Okay.
my time and freedom, basically, is
Okay.
priceless
Why is this?
because then I can express it and share it with whatever I like,
Love it.
and
Beautiful.
whether that's just I don't know, going to the beach or just like holding my daughter, or again going to lift something heavy or cook a meal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just basically priceless. Your time, and again, you can't get it back.
Mm-hmm. Where, if this question makes sense, when did you have, when did this like appear for you? Where did you start to be really grateful for your time? Was this forever or?
No, I think it's just accumulated as my biology redox has improved basically to think like this. again, obviously, it's from like learning from other people, reading, learning from myself, sitting with myself, knowing that you can be full of shit, and again, you don't have everything down, and again, understanding the essence of life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think you just cultivate it essentially,
Mm-hmm. Of course.
because again, like you can have all the good things, and then what? Or again, you could just be chasing so hard and spending your time to have those things, and then just not enjoy them at the end of the day. Or again,
Mm-hmm.
you'd just be stuck, and you won't actually be thinking about that. You'll be thinking about the next one, as an example.
Okay.
So again, it's a bit like being present and at
Mm-hmm.
peace with yourself. And again, that's really honoring and respecting your time.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Ryan. Thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate your time today. That was really cool. Thank you.
Well, you're gonna say that now, aren't you?
Thank you, Ryan.
No, you're welcome. It's a different podcast than what I expected. Some good questions,
What'd you
making me
expect?
think. I don't know, more like nutrition, health related. There's a bit
Mm-hmm.
more philosophy coming through. Um, yeah, it was a good discussion, good
Yeah,
conversation.
I appreciate it, Ryan.
No worries.
Thank you. What